Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, so UFC 315 has taken place. JDM, the king of violence is what some people are calling him in the streets, is now champion, and he's bringing violence back to the sport. However, we must talk about how long is his reign of violence? Who is going to be the man to beat him? And in this video, we're going to go through a tier list real quick to figure out which of the welterweight contenders at the moment, aka the ranked welterweights, that can beat him. If you're wondering why I'm not putting unranked on this tier list, it's because some of them are untested, okay? As much as I'll promote Brian Battle whooping JDM, okay? I'll stand on business, 10 toes down. We need to have some tests for the unproven, you know? So S tier is going to be the ones that beat him. A tier is going to be the ones that might beat him, 75% chance-ish. B is 50-50. C is going to be the 25%ers. And D is absolutely hooked. Alright, so let's just start off. Get some names out of here. Let me take these. Actually, you know what? Maybe I'll wear these glasses for the whole video. Fuck it. Alright? Fuck it. Crackhead era here. Alright? You know, the beanie has been taken off. Therefore, all of my predictions here are going to be perfect as far as who beats him and who doesn't. Obviously, this list is fact. So, let's get right into it. Number 1 right here, Vicente Luque, the definition of a 50-50 fighter. Could Vicente Luque beat JDM? Now, I do think it would be possible. However, I think he's got like a 25% chance. You know, I'm not going to lie here, boys. I don't think Luque can do it, you know? I think the brain bleed caught up a little too fast with him. I just don't think it's there. You know, he did wobble Themba Gorimbo, but, you know, Themba's, you know, 40-year-old man at this point. I didn't totally pick him to beat Vicente Luque or anything like that, and I'm not salty about it, but, you know, Luque is technically sound. He does have the skills to pay the bills, but JDM is like the consistent, like, JDM would be if Luque was consistent. You know, that's who JDM is, all right? So I think Luque is a little cooked. Not fully cooked, you know, but I think there's a puncher's chance there, as they say in the sport, you know? And moving on to, let me just write that down, mid-video editing right there. Jeff Neal, the second definition of a 50-50 fighter. Now, Jeff Neal is an interesting fellow. Hands of absolute dynamite. KO'd Bilal, guys. Look at how well that's aged. Alright. Bilal Muhammad. Let me get some light on me, actually, real quick. Never mind. My light's not working. Anyways. Jeff Neal, I think, is cooked. There's nothing he provides. You know? RDA is like a questionable matchup for Jeff Neal now in his career. And he only won that because RDA's fucking knee blew out. He got saved, alright, in that match. Other than that, Jeff Neal really hasn't had any good performance recently or in the past like 3 years. There was like a layoff situation, some custody battles I think were happening. I actually don't remember if Jeff Neal's the one with custody battles, but I know there's some circumstantial issues that Jeff Neal has going on in his personal life. I think he'd get cooked. I think JDM would probably finish this dude in round 1, even better than Shavkat. I think Shavkat was in the later rounds. I think JDM would absolutely smoke Jeff Neal at this point in his career. Moving on to, let's get a little risky, all right? Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, all right? I love Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. I'll promote that he is one of the best strikers currently in the UFC. He was whooping Buckley until he got KO'd, okay? You know, you can count KOing as being a bad striker, you know, because Wonderboy got shinned. Just saying. You know, 30-year-old Wonder Boy would whoop Buckley, but age takes all right? Father Time is undefeated, as they say. I would love to put, like, I rate Wonder Boy so high, I'm not even gonna lie. I think Wonder Boy would beat, yeah, he could beat Ian Gary, you know? He was beating Shavkat until he got finished, you know? But I think that would be the narrative of this fight, you know? Wonder Boy would probably be winning, and then JDM just catches him with something, you know? And unfortunately, I'm going to put him in cooked. Ah, fuck. You know, Wonderboy just doesn't hit as hard as, like, Vicente Luque. So he doesn't have that puncher's chance, you know? Unfortunately, it's just, like, he's not built for it anymore, you know what I mean? So it's just, it'd be a rough night for Wonderboy. I would like him. I'd be rooting for him. But I just don't think he'd be able to survive 5 rounds with JDM, the new king of violence. All right. Yeah, moving on. Carlos Prates. I think Carlos would be cooked. This guy's got a puncher's chance, kind of. But you have to be a victim in order to, like, lose to Carlos Prates. That's what we've learned, you know? Fucking Radke letting Carlos Prates just, like, get hand control on the feet. Why? You know? There's wrist control in grappling. Carlos Prates had fucking wrist control on the feet. Why the fuck are you letting that happen to you? And then the flying knee. Hey, sick KO. But Radke, come on, brother. Clean it up. And as his last performance shows, I think he's a little bit of a 50-50 fighter and a little bit of a victim himself. He'll just stand in front of shit. You know? Li Jing, is it Li Jing Liang? Whatever. The Leech. Alright? The Leech. You know, knocked out the Leech. One of the first knockouts of Leech's career. Leech was literally just running into strikes the whole time. Wobbled the entire time. Just fucking running into strikes. A victim. He's asking to get KO'd. Like, I don't know what you want. You know? What do you expect, Leech? Alright, brother? Shoot a fucking takedown. Alright? And while Carlos Prates does have good takedown defense, JDM's not going to need that. This would be a 5-round stand-up fight. And JDM would whoop the fuck out of Prates. It would almost look like the Ian Gary fight if Ian Gary had power in his hands and also didn't look like a victim in the final minute of the fight. That's what it would look like. JDM, 5 rounds, whooping Prates, you know? Maybe not finish Prates, because Prates isn't like a quitter. So it'd be like a Bilal sort of esque thing where it's like, damn, the dude's fucking tough, but he'd still, like, eat shit, pretty much. I don't think he beats JDM anywhere. Grappling, I think we all know that JDM's grappling is going to outbeat Prates, alright? And if we're talking about striking, like, best case, Prates has a puncher's chance. But even then, he's only beating victims, you know? Luque's beating fucking warriors, alright? Carlos Prates has beat bums, you know? Fucking Neil Magny. He was wobbled for 3 minutes. It took fucking Carlos Prates to find that one shot. And it was kind of a fluky, like, fucking... What was it? It was like I want to say elbow, but I think it was a forearm that landed on the temple of Neil Magny. So I think Prates would be cooked. Maybe a little less cooked than Jeff Neal, but I think Stephen Wonderboy would do a little bit better. Moving on to Leon Edwards. Well, headshot dead. That's 10 fights in a row. I won't fight for the title. Leon is good, but he lacks everything. Like, he's not dangerous on the ground. He'd be more cooked than Jeff Neal, I'll be honest. He has nothing to offer. He's chinny. He's not good on the ground. Doesn't do well with pressure. And when I say not good on the ground, I mean, like, finishing on the ground. He'll seatbelt you and hold you for 3 minutes on the ground. But as JDM proved, he's just going to get up. He doesn't give a fuck, even if it's the 5th round. You know, he's going to get up, throwing 250 significant strikes, which I think were the numbers. Maybe it was 150. I think it was 250, though. Crazy numbers. Yeah, I think Leon would be absolutely cooked. I can't see a world where he wins. He'd get pieced up on the feet, make the excuse that it was 6 a.m. in London, as I've been making for him. And, yeah, I mean, it'd be a slaughter, you know? Leon would probably get flatlined in that fight. Unfortunately, but, you know, Jeff Neal might not get flatlined. He might be able to get to a decision. He would just, like, look like shit the whole time. So I think Leon would be cooked against JDM. I'm a big Leon supporter. Last performance was terrible. Performance before that, it was a little better than people give it credit for, because it was a 3-2 decision, but it was shit optic-wise. And that's another thing, optic-wise, Leon Edwards, you know, grabbing the fence in order to lift himself up from a fucking takedown. It's, not a well-aged fighter, we'll say. Moving on to Kamaru the Nightmare Usman. Cooked knees. I don't care what anyone says. Yeah, I think this is adequate. Would do better than Neal. Would do better than Prates because of experience. But his knees are cooked. He wouldn't be able to, like, do the pace that he'd be able to do. You know? I get it. Oh, he arguably beat Hamzat or drawed with Hamzat. I get it. I don't think Hamzat's that fucking good, okay? Don't get me wrong, top 5 middleweight, sure. I don't think he's gonna be champ, okay? Early prediction out there. But, you know, feel free to hit that subscribe button if you're looking for content on MMA. Hey, just saying, I upload, you know, a couple times a week. Do pick some predictions on every single fight card. So far this year, I've only had 2 negative card out of 20. I pulled that number out of my ass, but you get the point, alright? I'm positive. I take my picks seriously. Anyways, regardless. Yeah, Kamaru Usman's knees are just cooked. Like, he's 40 years old. I don't think he's actually 40, but 45 years old. His knees are being held together with dust. I know what that pain feels like. Listen, brother. The fact that he fights, hey, respect, and, like, you know, he's a true warrior, all this other shit. He's not beating JDM. It's just, it's not in the cards, you know? When you're looking at your hand, you're given, Kamaru's got nothing, alright, for the fucking Garatina EX, fucking Darkrai EX, fucking Weavile EX deck that homeboy is using, alright? That JDM's gonna be fucking using on Kamaru Usman's ass, alright? It's just, it wouldn't be a good day for Kamaru Usman. He'd make it competitive in rounds, but I don't think he's got like a puncher's chance. I can't see him winning a decision at this point in his career. A 5-round decision, like a 3-round, okay, he could squeak 2 rounds. A 5-round, I just can't see Kamaru Usman applying more pressure. Also, he'd bitch about cheating so much. He would literally, like, fucking JDM would land, like, a really clean body kick, and Usman would be like, oh, it was a nut shot, bro, it was a nut shot. Nowadays, the refs aren't even really stopping this, alright? And because he's not a champion, or, like, a challenger, I guess, in the rotation here, I don't think he'd be getting the same, like, leeway he was getting. You know, maybe if it was Mark Goddard, actually, Mark Goddard probably wouldn't even stop it. It'd have to be, what is it, Ty Lonely? Christian Ty Lonely, or whatever his name is. The guy with the cool beard. Christian Tyone? I can't fucking remember. Whatever his name is. He'd have to get lucky with the ref, and he'd have to get lucky that the judges are just straight up robbing him, you know? Maybe if this was like JDM, Kamaru, in Africa. But even then, like, JDM, I'll say I thought the Bilal fight was really close. I thought JDM clearly won, but I thought Bilal clearly won 2 rounds. And JDM didn't make a lot of the rounds clear, is what I'll say. So, Usman, the more I'm thinking about it, the more it's like, he is not bad, but it's like his win over Jorge's fucking Masvidal, you know, don't really like that. You know, his win over Colby Covington, not really aged the greatest. And it'd be like, oh, well, Usman in his prime. He's not in his prime, you know? We're in like an aged Usman that wouldn't be able to beat a prime Colby. I think JDM whoops a prime Colby, which leads me into my next person here, Colby Covington. Colby would just be a victim in there. He'd quit every round and he wouldn't be able to, like, he'd actually do worse than Leon. Like, Leon might get finished. Colby would sit there bitching about dumb stuff, trying to get away with cheating like Usman, not getting away with it because he has no privilege. On top of that, he would just quit. Like, if Colby's losing a round, he'll accept that, like, okay, well, we're 3 minutes into the round and I've lost it, you know? Seen a lot of scar tissue, you know? Joaquin Buckley was painting a Picasso on Colby's face in his last fight. So I'd be worried about that. Colby, at the end of the day, also isn't like a built welterweight. He is kind of a lightweight. And I think JDM would just be too big for Colby Covington. You know, so I think he whoops him everywhere. Holy shit. Does he do worse? I think he would do worse than Jeff Neal, you know? Because, like, Jeff Neal would at least, like, roll back and, like, land. But Colby's got nothing. He's got pillow hands. No submission threat. We know how garbage wrestling is now in modern MMA. Wow, Colby at the bottom here. That's kind of insane. Anyways, moving on. Mix it up with the guy fighting this weekend. Gilbert Burns. Almost beat him in the first fight. Was literally, what, 2 minutes away, I think, from winning that scorecard? His takedowns are good, man. He was able to hold him down. Hey, did better than Bilal. Okay, I think we can all admit that. Did get finished by the knee, but that knee was like a 50-50, like, do I need now expecting a takedown? It was a telegraphed takedown, but in a rematch, Burns could hold him down, man. I'm going to put Burns. He doesn't have a puncher's chance, because I think his power is way overrated because he would beat the shit out of Hamzat. But I do think he's got a chance at a decision. You know, maybe not a submission, but a chance at a decision, you know, I don't mind it. I don't mind Gilbert Burns in a rematch. You know, and I'm not saying he wins. I'm not saying I'd pick him in the rematch, but I think he's got a 25% chance, you know. Beats JDM. Yeah, let me just put that there. But yeah, I think Burns is good. I think he's sneaky good. He's sneaky underrated. A little bit like a Poirier. If Poirier was a heavy grappler, not pulling guillotines, but actually grappling. Yeah, I think Burns is good, man. I think Burns. I hope he wins, man, for my mental this weekend, but we'll see. Moving on to the opponent Gilbert Burns is facing, Michael Morales. I'm putting him in the 50-50 category. He's kind of an untested kid. He did beat Neil Magny with the KO, but it wasn't like the cleanest KO. It was kind of like a pity KO. It wasn't like a flatline like Protes. A little bit of a sloppy seconds fighter. He's getting a lot of people who've already been beat. He's good, but he's missing that it. You know, maybe we'll see that in the Burns fight, but I just don't really see where Michael Morales can clearly beat JDM right now. But I don't see where, like, JDM can clearly beat Michael Morales right now. We need to see more of Morales. So, a little bit of, this is, like, the lowest ranked. I know, like, numbers-wise, he's not the lowest ranked. But this is probably the lowest ranked welterweight, if that makes sense. Just because he's, like, untested almost everywhere. So, I put Michael Morales 50-50. I'd say he's got a coin flip chance right now. We'll see. You know, this obviously will change depending on the results of the main event this weekend at UFC Vegas 106, I want to say. Whatever it is. Moving on, though, we have Bilal Muhammad. Bilal. You know what? Bilal did do well. Like, his boxing was crazy good. He's not going to get an instant rematch. By the way, people forget, man, Bilal Muhammad was one of the only champions to pull out of his first title defense. And then, his new opponent that he gets, he can't even defend the belt against. Kind of crazy if you think about it. Might be one of the worst welterweights of all time. Okay? You know, BJ Penn's up there for sure because of his brain being mush. But, you know, I'd say Bilal's up there in terms of one of the worst welterweights of all time, or welterweight champions of all time. Unfortunately for Bilal and Bilal fans, I'm not a fan of Bilal. I'll say that. Hey, and on the Bible, I think he'd do okay. I think he'd do okay in a rematch. I think it'd be a similar situation, 3-2, but I think it would be very clear 3-2 JDM. Maybe 4-1. Maybe it'd be 4-1 JDM, but he could squeak around. You know, cleaner takedowns. Maybe if you had a little bit more of a better plan than running into JDM strikes. You're not Dricus du Plessis, little bro. It's not going to happen. But he was accurate with the boxing. You know, that's something we got to give him credit for. He was doing well with the boxing. A lot better than I thought, at least. So, I put Bilal Muhammad in the 25%er. You know, he's got a Russian roulette chance here. Okay? That's what I'd say. Maybe not exactly 25, but like 50. 15, I'd say. 15, you know, 10%. You know, maybe I'll update this, put the 5 to 25% here. I think that's pretty fair. You know, we'll do like the 25 to like 30 here, and we'll do the 50 to yeah. This seems good. All right. So, yeah, Bilal, he did do well, but he needed to grapple more and strike less. But he didn't want to grapple more, basically, was the story of that fight. And I'm not trying to sit here and be like, oh, in the rematch, he'd be smart enough to actually grapple with him and not stand up and strike and try to No, he would probably do the same thing and get fucked up. Because he is like, Bilal is not Marab levels of dumb, but he is pretty dumb. Alright, so moving on. Fight IQ wise, I think he's dumb in terms of ego. Like, he'll feed into his ego way too much. Like, oh, I'm gonna out strike a striker, you know? Didn't with Wonderboy, just say. hey, proves how good Wonderboy is. Just saying. Moving on, Ian Gary. Some people call him the cuck. Some people question who his kid's father really is. Do I put him as a 50-50? I think he does worse than Bilal. I think he gets whooped 5 rounds. I can't see any success. So do I put him... Oh my god. Do I put him this low? I might put him here. I might put him... I can't see Ian Gary beating JDM. JDM has way too much testosterone. He eats meat. You know, this vegan ain't ready for it. Okay. Yeah, I just, I can't see Ian Gary having success anywhere. Ian Gary's, like, sneaky good, but he's sneaky good against guys who... They can't find the mark. JDM has proven he will find the mark, alright? He painted Picasso on Bilal fucking Muhammad's face, alright? I don't think Ian Gary is going to be able to avoid JDM, and even, I can so see Ian Gary shooting for a bad takedown like he did in the Carlos Prates fight. I get it, short notice, all these other excuses for Ian Gary. But I can see him shooting a bad takedown and just getting guillotined or darsed. You know, ninja choked up against the fence. JDM's not going to play against the fence. He will separate and get to space. You know, he's not going to make the mistake that Jeff Neal and MVP did with Ian Gary and clinch the whole time. It's not going to happen. When they're in space, JDM owns that territory. I do think Ian Gary's kind of cooked. And he doesn't have a puncher's chance. You know? He landed clean a few times on Prates. And he wobbled Prates. Do I think Prates has a better chin than JDM? Probably not. You know? JDM's nose is like battle tested. You know? You know how they say when you break a bone, it comes back even stronger? Like when it's fully healed? JDM's fucking face is that. You know? 17 fight win streak. People forget, man. But yeah, JDM, I think, would just beat bell to bell Ian Gary everywhere. There's, like, Ian Gary, I think his striking is, like, slightly worse than JDM's in terms of, like, the boxing's good, though. Like, when I say striking, I obviously mean kicks, spinning shit, how you implement the striking in terms of, like, landing, stuff like that. I'm not just talking boxing, right? Talking about boxing, JDM whoops this kid every day of the week. Kicking-wise, JDM also, I think, just whoops him every day of the week. Like, there's not really a lot of... Ian Gary likes to go for a lot of head kicks. Like, maybe he catches him once or twice with the cowboy combo, or whatever you call it, where it's like the 2-1 fucking high kick off the lead, but I don't think he'd be able to finish JDM, or, like, even cut JDM's face anywhere. I just can't see it. Yeah, moving on, we have... Ignore this, by the way. That's supposed to be MVP. MVP! Some people call him the colored Megamind. Other people's wonder what planet he's from. But I think MVP's got a 50-50 chance here. You know? MVP's grappling. His defense isn't great. I don't think JDM's going to be shooting takedowns. And this would be a sick stand-up fight. I just think MVP would have a... He'd have a... almost Shara Bullet performance, but if Shara Bullet threw kicks, threatened to take down, like I don't think JDM's gonna shoot one. I think he'd fake one. I don't think he'd shoot one. But I think JDM would like get MVP with kicks. You know, kicks off the lead leg. You know, like MVP's lead leg. And then body kicks, rear body kicks, as MVP's blasting in. JDM got pretty close a few times with a lead elbow. He kept on going for Bilal in the early rounds. I think he'd catch MVP with an elbow, probably stun the shit out of MVP. And I think MVP would probably lose via TKO in the later rounds. However, MVP is dangerous. And MVP does have some of the best distance management of all time. So, I could see MVP squeaking a decision. And if I'm worried about cardio, the guy went 6 rounds in BKFC with Mike Perry constantly pushing forward. Literally a punching bag. And I'm not trying to say, oh, MVP, you know, he beat fucking JDM like he beat Mike Perry. In my opinion, I think MVP won the first 5. But when they went to the sudden death round, I thought Mike Perry clearly won the sudden death round. However, Yeah, I think MVP could last the 25 minutes, and in those 25 minutes, it would just be like a striker's delight here, you know, or it'd be boring as shit. But regardless, I think MVP could squeak out a decision, you know. I think he's got a higher chance. I'd put him above Morales just because we need to see a little bit more from Morales, you know. MVP did whoop the fuck out of Kevin Holland. I'm not trying to say Kevin Holland is on the tier of JDM, but he can whoop people that are ranked level. You know, MVP versus... Yeah, it could be interesting. MVP is an interesting fellow. You know, it's kind of hard to predict his fights. Sometimes they're entertaining as shit, sometimes they're boring as fuck. You know, and this could go either way, in my opinion. Moving on. Shavkat Rakhmonov. I'd give him better odds than MVP. I'd say 50. I'd say 50%. I think he's got a solid 50%. I don't think I'd pick Shavkat to beat JDM just because Shavkat's lost so much aura with that Ian Gary performance. And then on top of that, yeah, he's a finishing dude, but he does just walk into strikes, and I think he would lose the rounds in a 5-round fight with JDM. You know, JDM could probably even find the finish. You know, JDM, I think, has power. I think it's a little overrated, but I think like a kick would probably wobble Shavkat, and then JDM would just pour the pepper on, start flexing on Shavkat a little bit in the later rounds if it gets to it. Yeah, I think I'd still pick JDM, but Shavkat is still good, and he is still undefeated, and that's like you know, you can't say that about you literally can't say that about anyone else in the division. I think except for Michael Morales, he might have losses. I can't remember his record off the top of my head. But Shavkat has proven he can beat like high level dudes. Sometimes it's just barely, but yeah, I don't know. I think it'd be a tough one to score. Or yeah, I think it would be a tough one to score. It'd be very Bilal performance-esque, you know? Or it would be like Ian Gary if Ian Gary was applying or was landing a lot more than Shavkat in the rounds and was making it clear and wasn't looking like a pussy bitch, you know? Not getting his shorts cut in half because, you know, the vegan's too strong within him. But yeah, I think Shavkat's got a good chance of beating JDM. I just wouldn't pick Shavkat. Moving on to the final two. We'll do the thumbnail one. Yep. Hey, 10 toes down. I think Sean Brady beats JDM. Alright? Listen, Sean Brady striking is nowhere even close to JDM. Okay? Not even within the same realm. Sean Brady is a big, thick dude, for the welterweight division. And I think he'd be able to muscle down JDM. JDM could reverse and get to feet. Sean Brady would then go back in and dunk him every single time that JDM gets up. I can't see, like, Sean Brady not being able to get a successful takedown on JDM through the course of 5 rounds. Yeah, he got standing TKO'd by Bilal. That's his only loss. And in hindsight, I get why they stopped the fight. But it is also like, that's kind of like a weak stoppage, you know? Like, you could have kept that fight going, you know? Sean Brady just didn't throw back, and I think he's learned, like, I will get TKO'd if that happens, like, if I'm not throwing back. So I think that was like a learning experience, like an actual learning experience for Sean Brady. And ever since then, he's been Sean Nurmagomedov Brady. Sean Brady's, like, grappling is elite level. I think it's probably the best in the division. He made Gilbert Burns look like he didn't even belong in jiu-jitsu. No one does that. And yeah, I think Sean Brady would be able to hold down. I think we would be looking at almost a 1-to-1 for a Michel Pereira Fluffy. But, like, if Michel Pereira had a better gas tank, but he just wasn't as explosive, you know? I think that's kind of what we'd be looking at, you know? JDM would try to flex with the striking, you know, maybe try to go for a body kick or something. Sean Brady catches the kick, and then he instantly gets on that fucking single leg to a double leg, and then gets you down, and then when he's on top, he's making sure you're not near the cage. You know, JDM would be trying to blast out, get a reversal. I think Sean Brady's advantage here is the IQ on the ground. I think his IQ on the ground is elite. you know? And in that Leon Edwards fight, I picked Leon Edwards. I had Sean Brady winning 10-8 in the first 2 rounds. I think it would be boring. I think people would be raging. The Guru crash out would be crazy. But I think Sean Brady would actually beat JDM. I'd pick Sean Brady and JDM. You know? Especially an underdog. Oh, buddy, you bet your sweet bippy I'm putting fucking a $5 on that. Alright? Moving on. Joaquin Buckley. I rate his odds, man. I don't know if I'd pick him. I'd have to really think about it. But I think Buckley's got good odds. He's dangerous. He's good. He's very good. He was whooping Colby Covington bell to bell. I don't know it's Colby Covington, but he is, like, he looked elite when it came to fucking, what's his name? Nursultan Ruzaboev. That win is only aging better. Another fighter fighting this weekend, and if he gets fraud checked by whatever bum he's fighting, then yeah, you know. But I do think Joaquin Buckley's sneaky good. I think his power is insane. I think the way, specifically, JDM does have great angle cutting. Joaquin Buckley has, like, the answer to that angle cutting with his own angle, like, advancements, you know? The way this guy cut distance and everything is very, very good. You know, I do think Buckley has a chin problem, but I don't think JDM would be able to finish him, just being honest. So I think in a 5-rounder, it's questionable, man. I could see Buckley getting a KO on JDM. Listen, JDM's fucking good, right? And defensively, he's pretty good as well. But he was getting tagged by the wall. And those were just straight 1-2s. Buckley doesn't always come with a straight 1-2. Normally, he's going with a hook or, like, something set up. His hooks are nasty, man. I can see, like, JDM trying to get away, similar to, like, Steven Wonderboy, and Buckley just fucking ripping it and just not knocking him out, but wobbling him pretty bad. You know, stumbles back to the cage. Buckley all of a sudden starts shooting a takedown just to, like, get it in JDM's mind. You know, Buckley's power is that he's good everywhere. Like, everywhere. He's dangerous. He's got good wrestling. His jiu-jitsu game could use work, you know, in terms of, like, what we've seen. You know, his chin has looked pretty good for welterweight. You know, his distance management, his combinations, like, everything Buckley has shown is good. I have a friend of mine who's picking Usman against Buckley. I'm going to say I don't have Usman beating Buckley, early prediction leak. But I would put Joaquin Buckley probably the 50-75. I argue he could be up here. You know, maybe he's got better odds in your opinion than Sean Brady. But I think this would be the striker's delight. This would be like guaranteed fireworks, you know? This would be one of those performances where, oh, somebody for sure gets KO'd. And then no one gets KO'd and it's a back and forth, like 300 significant strike each fucking performance, you know? It'd be sick to watch. I'd be ecstatic for this fight. But yeah, I don't know if I'd pick JDM, and I don't know if I'd pick Joaquin Buckley yet. I'd have to do a lot more, you know, analyzing the previous fights and everything, but I think that fight would be sick. I rate Joaquin Buckley's whole shtick. I rate everything about his personality in the build-up would be great. Like, everything about Buckley here, you know. I rate it, you know. So, yeah, this has been my tier list of all the ranked fighters in welterweight, who I think will beat JDM, guaranteed at the moment, and all the other fighters and their odds of beating JDM roughly. I'd say this list, yeah, I'm pretty happy with this list. You know, feel free to disagree. Maybe put down in the comments which fighter you have beating JDM, or maybe you think JDM's just king and he doesn't lose. You know, becomes the next welterweight GOAT, moves up, beats Islam, everything like that. Ooh, I probably should have put Islam on this list. By the way, I think Islam beats him. All right, just saying. But this has been my tier list of the fighters that I think could beat JDM and where I put them on the list. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, you may have noticed I'm in my skinhead era. All right. Hey, what can I say? All right, had to go to the barber, get the barber, you know, he had to clean me up, and now we're here. All right, my Tyler 1 looking hairline. Hey, we're here, baby. Okay, so if you made it all the way to the end of the video, I want to thank you for watching, and as always, I hope you have a good day.